You ever feel like your batteries are just drained? Like that spark you used to have is kind of flickering out?
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling.
I mean, we joke about getting older, but
Right.
is that really all it is?
Well, that's what we're going to dive into today. See, we often just accept that fatigue and low energy are just part of getting older. But what if there was a way to, actually get that vitality back naturally?
Okay, now you've got my attention. What are we talking about here? Like some secret fountain of youth?
Uh-huh. Not quite, but it's in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into TestoPrime. It's a natural testosterone support supplement.
Testosterone, huh?
Okay.
So we're tackling that head on.
Yep. A lot of men struggle with low testosterone.
Oh, I know. Feeling drained all the time, losing muscle, mood swings.
Exactly. And that's where TestoPrime comes in. They claim to address all of that using 12 clinically supported ingredients. And it's all natural, no hormone replacement therapy or anything like that.
So it's about boosting testosterone naturally. Okay, I like the sound of that. But what kind of results are we talking about? Because, everyone claims to have the miracle solution these days.
Well, TestoPrime makes some pretty bold claims. Like they say it can increase both your physical and mental energy, even after a long day.
Oh, I could definitely use some of that.
Right. They also say it helps with protein synthesis, which means burning fat and building lean muscle. And get this, they claim it can even improve your mood and confidence.
Oh, hold on. Increased energy, better body. AND, a mood boost. Is this for real?
It almost sounds too good to be true, I know, but they get even more specific. They're talking about reducing stress by up to 71.6%, increasing muscle strength by up to 138.7%, and even improving endurance by 92.2%. Plus, they say it can help convert fat into energy by 12%.
Those are some serious numbers. But come on, are these claims actually backed up by science?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. TestoPrime does cite research for some of these claims, so we'll have to see how strong that research actually is.
All right, so before we go full-on science nerd here, let's talk about what makes TestoPrime different. Because let's be honest, there are a ton of testosterone boosters out there.
You're telling me. It's a crowded market for sure, but one thing that stands out about TestoPrime is their focus on all natural ingredients. We're talking stuff like D-aspartic acid, Panax ginseng, ashwagandha, fenugreek, green tea extract, and black pepper extract.
Wait, so we're talking about ingredients I could actually find in my kitchen?
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going for a natural approach, no synthetic hormones or anything like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
But how do these natural ingredients actually boost testosterone?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Each ingredient has its own role, and they all work together to support your body's natural testosterone production. For example, D-aspartic acid, it's involved in producing something called luteinizing hormone, which basically tells your body to make more testosterone.
Oh.
Then you've got Panax ginseng, which has a long history of use for boosting energy and libido. And ingredients like ashwagandha and fenugreek, they've been studied for their potential to reduce stress, improve mood, and even help with weight loss.
So it's not just about forcing your body to make more testosterone. It's about, like, creating the right environment for it.
You got it. It's a more holistic approach. And that's one of the things that sets TestoPrime apart. It's not just about brute force. It's about working with your body's natural systems.
This is sounding pretty good so far. But, and I hate to be a downer, what about side effects? Messing with hormones can sometimes have, well, unintended consequences.
Right,
Right?
absolutely. That's a really important point, and it's something we're going to dive deeper into as we go. Now, TestoPrime does use natural ingredients, which are generally considered safe.
Mm-hmm.
But even natural stuff can have side effects or interact with medications you're already taking.
Right, so a little caution is always a good thing. But before we get into the risks, let's talk about what people are saying. Because TestoPrime's website is full of these glowing testimonials. People talking about crazy energy boosts, better workouts, even just feeling happier overall.
Yeah, those testimonials are definitely interesting. People talking about having more energy to play with their kids, being more focused at work, just feeling better about themselves.
Right.
But of course, we have to remember that testimonials are just anecdotes. They're not scientific proof.
Yeah, anyone can cherry pick positive reviews.
Exactly. So while those testimonials are a good starting point, we can't rely on them completely. We need to look at the research, analyze the science behind the claims.
And that is exactly what we are going to do. We'll be looking at the studies, breaking down the ingredients, and really figuring out if TestoPrime lives up to the hype.
Absolutely.
But to do that, we're going to need a little more time.
Yeah, this is a big topic, lots to unpack.
So stay tuned because we're just getting started.
We are. Okay, so let's dive into the science behind TestoPrime's claims. You know, all those impressive numbers they throw around, like increased strength, better endurance, reduced stress.
Yeah, those numbers definitely caught my attention. But do they hold up?
Well, that's what we're here to find out. TestoPrime actually cites specific studies on their website to back up those claims.
Okay, so they're not just pulling those numbers out of thin air.
Right. They're pulling from a mix of clinical trials and research papers. Each study focuses on different ingredients and their effects.
Makes sense. So what kind of studies are we talking about? What do they actually look at?
Well, for example, with D-aspartic acid, they reference a study that was published in the journal Reproductive Biology and Endocrinology. That study looked at how D-aspartic acid can boost something called luteinizing hormone, which is basically the signal that tells your body to produce testosterone.
Ah, so there's the connection to their claim about increasing testosterone.
Yep. And the study did show a significant increase in luteinizing hormone levels in the men who took D-aspartic acid.
Interesting. But how big was this study? Was it like a massive trial or just a small group of people?
It was a smaller study, only 30 men, but it did show statistically significant results, which means it's not just random chance.
Okay, so there's some evidence to support their claim,
Mhm.
but I imagine a larger study would be even more convincing, right?
You're right, more research is always a good thing, especially when it comes to supplements and how they affect our bodies.
Definitely. So what about some of the other key ingredients? Like they talk a lot about ashwagandha and how it can reduce stress and maybe even help with weight loss.
Yeah, ashwagandha is a popular one, and there's actually research to back up those claims. They cite a study published in the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine. In that study, researchers looked at how ashwagandha affected men who were dealing with chronic stress.
Okay, so real world stress, not just lab-induced stress.
Right. And the results were pretty interesting. The men who took ashwagandha had a significant drop in their cortisol levels.
Cortisol, that's the stress hormone.
Exactly. So lower cortisol means less stress.
Makes sense. And I've definitely heard of ashwagandha being used for stress relief before, so there's some traditional knowledge there too.
You're right. It's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for a long time for exactly that reason. But it's great to see scientific evidence supporting its effectiveness.
Now, what about the weight loss claim? Did that study look at that as well?
They did, and while the main focus was on stress, the researchers also noticed that the men taking ashwagandha had a slight decrease in body weight and BMI.
Okay, so not a dramatic weight loss, but still a positive sign.
Yeah, it's not conclusive evidence for weight loss, but it does suggest that ashwagandha could play a role in a healthy weight management plan, especially when combined with other lifestyle changes like diet and exercise.
Right, it's not a magic bullet.
Yeah.
So it seems like we're seeing a bit of a trend here. Some initial evidence to support TestoPrime's claims, but more research is definitely needed.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that even the most promising studies have limitations. Things like the number of people in the study, the specific group being studied, how long the study lasted, all of those things can affect the results.
And we can't forget about the placebo effect either. Sometimes just believing that something is working can actually have a real impact.
Oh, absolutely. The mind-body connection is a powerful thing. And it's something to keep in mind when you're evaluating any supplement or treatment.
For sure. Okay, so let's talk about another ingredient that caught my eye, Panax ginseng. They highlight its traditional use for boosting energy and libido.
Right, Panax ginseng. TestoPrime cites a review that was published in the British Journal of Clinical Pharmacology. This review analyzed a bunch of studies on Korean red ginseng, which is a type of Panax ginseng,
Okay.
and they were specifically looking at its effects on erectile dysfunction.
Interesting. So they're connecting ginseng to sexual health, which ties into the whole testosterone thing.
Exactly. And the review concluded that Korean red ginseng does show some promise as a potential treatment for erectile dysfunction. A few of the studies showed improvements in erectile function compared to the placebo group.
Okay, so there's some support for their claims about ginseng in that area. But what about its energy-boosting effects? Did they cite any studies on that?
They did. They mentioned a study in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology. This one looked at how Panax ginseng affected fatigue in cancer patients who were undergoing chemotherapy. And the study found that ginseng actually helped reduce fatigue and improve the patient's quality of life.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. So even though that study was focused on a specific group of people, it suggests that ginseng could have wider benefits for fighting fatigue and increasing energy.
Absolutely. And it shows how these natural ingredients can potentially address different aspects of health and well-being, not just testosterone levels on their own.
Right, it's all connected.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've looked at D-aspartic acid, ashwagandha, panax ginseng. We're seeing some positive results, but also some areas where more research is needed.
Definitely.
But we haven't even touched on the other 9 ingredients in TestoPrime.
I know, right? There's still so much to unpack. That's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. We're really digging into the science and exploring the complexity of these ingredients.
It's a lot to take in. But before we go too far down the research rabbit hole, I think it's time to bring things back to the listener. What does all of this mean for someone who's actually considering trying TestoPrime?
That's a great question. And it's important to remember that research is just one piece of the puzzle. Everyone's body is different, so how people respond to supplements can vary a lot. What works for one person might not work for another.
Right, and there's so many other things that play a role in overall health and hormone balance, like your lifestyle, your diet, stress levels, even genetics.
Absolutely. So while TestoPrime presents a compelling case with its natural ingredients and the research they cite, it's important to be smart about it. Don't just jump in blindly. Make an informed decision based on your own needs and circumstances.
And that's where talking to your doctor comes in, right? They can help you figure out your individual situation and any potential risks.
Exactly. It's always a good idea to talk to your doctor before starting any new supplement, especially one that's related to hormones.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about potential side effects. Because even though TestoPrime uses natural ingredients, it's important to remember that even natural things can have unwanted effects sometimes.
You're absolutely right. Transparency is key here. TestoPrime's website focuses a lot on the potential benefits, but we also need to look at the potential downsides.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's start by taking a look at each ingredient and any known side effects that have been reported. So remember, we were talking about potential side effects.
Right, even with natural ingredients, there's always a chance.
Right, exactly. And it's important to be aware of that, even with a supplement like TestoPrime. They generally use ingredients that are considered safe,
Mm-hmm.
but, everybody's different. What works for one person might not work for another.
So where do we start? Do we just look at each ingredient one by one?
Yeah, that's a good approach. Let's take D-aspartic acid, for instance. Some studies suggest that it could lead to, like, irritability or mood swings in certain people.
Oh, really? So even though it's supposed to boost testosterone, which can actually help with mood, it could actually have the opposite effect for some people.
Yeah, it's all about how your individual body reacts to things. Then there's ashwagandha. Generally, it's well tolerated, but some people report getting an upset stomach or feeling drowsy after taking it.
Okay, so not too serious, but still something to be aware of. What about panax ginseng? That one always seems pretty potent.
Yeah, panax ginseng can definitely interact with certain medications, especially blood thinners. So if you're on any medication, it's really important to talk to your doctor before taking ginseng. And some people experience things like insomnia or headaches.
Got it. So it's not just about side effects on their own, but also how they might interact with other things you're taking.
Exactly. That's why it's never a good idea to start any new supplement without talking to your doctor first. They can help you figure out if it's safe for you and if there are any potential risks.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've covered some potential downsides. But how does TestoPrime stack up against other testosterone boosters out there? Is it really unique, or are there similar products?
Well, there are definitely a lot of testosterone boosters on the market, but TestoPrime does a few things differently. First, they're focused on using all natural ingredients that have been clinically studied. That really sets them apart from some of the, less reputable brands out there.
So they're not just throwing a bunch of random herbs together.
Yeah.
They're actually backing their formula with science.
Right. They're trying to combine traditional knowledge with modern research. And another thing that's different is their lifetime money-back guarantee.
Wow, a lifetime guarantee. That's pretty bold.
Yeah.
Makes you think they must be pretty confident in their product.
It does. It could be a sign that they're really committed to customer satisfaction. Of course, it's also a smart marketing tactic, but it definitely sets them apart from other companies that usually just offer like a limited time guarantee.
So let's wrap this up. If someone's listening to this and they're thinking about trying TestoPrime, what's the next step? Should they just hit that buy now button, or is there more to it?
I would definitely say don't rush into anything, especially when it comes to your health. This deep dive is just a starting point.
Right. We've covered a lot, but there's always more to learn.
Exactly. I would encourage everyone listening to check out the full article that we've linked below. It goes into even more detail about TestoPrime, talks about all the ingredients, the research behind it, potential side effects, and how it compares to other products.
It's a great resource for anyone who wants to really dig in and make an informed decision.
And as we've said throughout this whole deep dive, talk to your doctor. They can give you advice based on your specific situation and help you decide if TestoPrime is right for you.
So it's not just about selling a product. It's about giving people the information they need to take control of your health.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power. And when it comes to your health, there's no better investment.
Well said. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of TestoPrime. And until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and take care of yourselves.